Sometimes the loudest "I'm fine" is just a scared ego hiding behind a broken heart. My friends, that's where this story begins. They're not losing the fight with you. They're losing the fight with themselves. And that's exactly when they start coming back. Now, hey folks, imagine this. You're in a boxing ring, but you walked out already. You hung up the gloves. You chose peace. The crowd thinks the match is over. They think the other person won. But what no one sees is that after you walk away, they're still in the ring, swinging at their own reflection. They're tired, they're confused, they're punching air. That's their ego still trying to prove, I don't miss them, I'm fine, I'm stronger without them. Meanwhile, you're in the locker room, sipping water, breathing, slowly getting your strength back. Who's really winning now? There's a quote I love. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Marcus Aurelius said that. In our language today, it means this. Your power isn't in proving them wrong. Your power is in becoming someone their old version of you could never have handled. We're told a lie, my friends. The lie is, if they're not calling, they don't care. Silence means they've moved on. Stories, posts, new people, that means they've forgotten you. No. Sometimes the people who shout the loudest online are the ones losing the quietest battles at 2 a.m. Picture their life like a movie set. Bright lights, smiling selfies, new faces, late nights. Looks amazing in the trailer. But when the cameras turn off and everyone goes home, it's just them in a quiet room, with a mind that won't stop replaying what they lost. That's the fight they're losing, not with you, with the truth. Lao Tzu said, silence is a source of great strength. But no one tells you this. Silence is also a mirror. It shows them what they did. It shows you who you really are. They thought your silence meant weakness. They thought walking away made them powerful. They thought, if I leave, they'll chase, they'll break, they'll beg. But you didn't. You stayed still. You chose distance. You chose dignity. You chose to stop arguing with someone who was committed to misunderstanding you. That's when the script flips. At first, it hurts like crazy. Your chest is heavy. Your brain is loud. Your phone feels like a bomb. But slowly, your silence stops being a prison and starts being a doorway. On their side, though, the opposite. They go from, I'm free, to, why are they so calm? From, they'll come back, to, why aren't they reacting? From, I can replace them, to, why does no one feel like them? That, my friends, is when they're losing the fight. That is when they start to come back, not out of strength, out of conflict, out of realization, out of the uncomfortable truth that your energy was rare and their ego was loud. We're going to break these patterns down step by step in this video. I want this to be eye-opening, a little painful in the honest parts, but deeply freeing. I want you to laugh a bit too, when you realize how predictable some of these ego reactions are. Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. And once you can't unsee it, you stop being controlled by it. So stay with me, folks. This isn't about making you bitter. This is about making you better. You are not chasing. You are not waiting at the door. You are learning to stand so firmly in your peace that if they return, it's a choice for you, not a rescue for them. Here's your affirmation for today. I choose my peace. Type it in the comments right now so your mind remembers it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me, because they're losing the fight, and this is when you rise. Number 1. The war you can't see. Ego versus emotion. Some people would rather lose you than lose the image of themselves they're trying to protect. Let that land for a second, my friends. The crazy part is, when they walk away, it looks like they're winning. It looks like they're strong, detached, untouchable. They act like they've outgrown you, like they've leveled up emotionally, and you're the one still stuck. But that's only the version you see from the outside. Inside, there's a whole different movie playing, a quiet war that no one is clapping for, where their ego and their real feelings are throwing punches in the dark. Imagine they're standing in front of a mirror in a dimly lit room. On one side of the mirror is their ego dressed like a superhero, arms crossed, chest out, saying, "We made the right choice. We're fine. We don't miss anyone." On the other side, hidden just behind the glass, is their real self, softer, tired, a little scared, whispering, "We lost something real. We pushed away the one safe place we had." Every time they feel a wave of missing you, the ego slams the glass and shouts, "Nope, we're not going there." But cracks still appear. That's the war you can't see. You might sit there thinking, if they cared, they'd say it. If they missed me, they'd come back. If they felt anything at all, I'd see it. That's the lie the pain tries to sell you, because your mind wants simple equations. No text equals no feeling. Silence equals no care. But human beings are not math problems, my friends. We're walking contradictions. We can miss someone deeply and still not move a single muscle because our ego is terrified of being seen as weak. Have you ever had that moment where you wanted to text someone with your whole heart, and then your finger froze over the send button because your pride whispered, "What if they don't respond? What if you look desperate?" Now multiply that by someone whose whole personality is built on looking like they don't need anyone. Of course they're quiet. Of course they pretend nothing is happening. Their silence isn't proof that there's no battle. It's proof that the battle is so intense, they're afraid to step onto the field. Here's another picture for you. Think of a volcano. On the surface it looks calm. Grass is growing, tourists are taking selfies, birds are flying around like it's just another hill. But underneath, pressure is building, heat is rising, magma is shifting. Just because you don't see lava doesn't mean nothing is going on. It just means the explosion hasn't reached the surface yet. That's their ego. Cool on the outside, chaos on the inside. What do they fear if they admit they miss you? They fear being wrong about you. They fear having to say, "I misjudged you. I took you for granted." They fear losing control of the narrative where they're the strong one and you're the emotional one. They fear that if they open the door even a little bit, all the feelings they've pushed down will rush out and drown them. So instead, they fight their own heart and call it strength. We're taught by this modern world that vulnerability is a weakness, that whoever cares less holds the power. So when they walked away, they told themselves a story. "I'm above this. I'm done. I don't need them." That story becomes their armor. And here's the tricky part. Once someone puts on that armor, they feel like they have to keep playing the character. Even when the script stops making sense, they keep posting, keep laughing, keep flexing. But some nights, even they can't believe their own performance anymore. There's a quote that fits this perfectly. We lie loudest when we lie to ourselves. That's what their ego does. It lies loudly so it doesn't have to hear the quiet truth. The truth that you were not just another person. The truth that you brought stability to their chaos. The truth that they felt safe with you in a way they don't feel with others. The truth that when they walked away, they didn't just lose something, they damaged something inside themselves too. You might be thinking, if they're losing this fight, why is it so hard for me? Why am I the one up at night, overthinking, replaying everything? Because your war is different. Your battle is with your fear. Fear that you weren't enough. Fear that you were easy to discard. Fear that their silence is proof that you never mattered. That's what your mind throws at you at 3 a.m. That's what makes your chest tight and your heart sink. But here's the twist. Those fears are lies too. They didn't walk away because you were ordinary. They walked away because their ego told them it was safer to run than to grow. It's easier to say, "You were too much," than to admit, "I wasn't ready to rise to your level." It's easier to act cold than to say, "You made me feel things I don't know how to manage." Their ego doesn't want them to see that, but deep down, slowly, painfully, they begin to feel it. That's why this stage is so messy for them. Their emotions keep trying to speak. Remember how peaceful you felt with them. Remember how seen you felt. Remember how they supported you when no one else did. And the ego barks back. Stop, they weren't that special. Move on. Find someone else. You're fine. But the more the ego screams, the more it proves it's afraid of the truth. Calm people don't argue with reality. Only scared egos do. Meanwhile, you're learning something they haven't mastered yet, the courage to face your pain instead of hiding from it. You feel the loss fully. You face the questions, the ache, the confusion. It hurts, yes. But that's also why you grow faster. You're not numbing it with fake flexing. You're not decorating your pain with fake smiles and forced selfies. You're sitting with it, and slowly it starts to turn into wisdom. This is why it feels difficult, because you're playing the game on real mode, and they're still mashing buttons on fantasy mode. It's hard to accept that the person who hurt you might also be hurting, but in a twisted, hidden way. It's hard to accept that their silence doesn't always mean you didn't matter. It sometimes means you mattered so much, they're scared of what owning that truth would do to the image they've built. Here's what I want you to remember. The war you can't see doesn't mean the war isn't there. Just because they're not confessing doesn't mean they're not conflicted. Just because they aren't texting doesn't mean they haven't typed and deleted your name more than once. Just because you don't see the tears doesn't mean the cracks aren't forming under the surface. While they're busy wrestling with their reflection, your job is not to jump into their ring and save them. Your job is to rise out of yours, to rise out of fear, to rise out of the story that says, if they don't come back, I'm not valuable. Your value was never measured by their emotional maturity. Your worth is not defined by their ability or inability to love you well. You are allowed to say, I felt real things, I gave real love, and that says more about me than their distance ever could. You're allowed to choose healing over chasing. You're allowed to let their ego fight itself while you go build something stronger inside you. Peace, self-respect, and emotional mastery. So here's your affirmation for this chapter. My worth is bigger than their ego. Type it in the comments, my friends. Show yourself, show me, show the world around you that you're done letting someone else's inner war define how you see yourself. And stay with me, because once this unseen battle inside them gets louder, something starts to shift in a way they can't hide anymore. And that's where things get very interesting in the next part. Number 2. When distractions stop working, the noise starts to break. Distractions don't heal a broken heart. They just turn down the volume until the silence comes back louder. Sit with that for a second, my friends. When they first walk away, they don't run into the arms of peace. They run into the arms of distraction. It's not wisdom. It's not emotional growth. It's avoidance dressed up as, I'm living my best life. At the start, it looks like they're thriving. Suddenly, they're everywhere, posting selfies, going out more, laughing extra loud in every story, telling their friends, I feel so free. On the surface, it looks like a glow-up. Inside, it's just a glow stick, bright for a moment, then fading as soon as the party ends. Hey folks, imagine their life like a loud nightclub. The music is blasting, lights are flashing, everyone's shouting over each other. For a while, they can't hear anything. Not your voice, not their own thoughts, not the truth. And they like it that way, because if the music ever stopped, they'd have to listen to what's really going on inside. So they keep turning the volume up. More people, more plans, more scrolling, more "I'm fine" performances. But even nightclubs close. There always comes that quiet moment when they're alone in their car after a long night, or lying in bed when the blue light of the screen goes dark, and all that noise they've been using as a shield suddenly disappears. The music stops, the crowd leaves, the lights go out, and there's just them. No filter, no audience, no distraction, just a mind that's finally loud enough to be heard. That's when your presence sneaks back in. At first it's small, a memory, a joke you told, a song you sent, the way you used to say, "Text me when you get home." It doesn't look like longing yet. Their ego labels it. Just a random thought, no big deal. But random thoughts don't visit this often, and they definitely don't carry this much weight. They might scroll through their phone, pretending they're just bored. They open old photos, old chats, old moments. "I'm just clearing storage," they tell themselves. Sure, but tell me why their chest feels heavier, not lighter, after they do it. Tell me why they lock the phone faster when your face shows up. Tell me why their stomach drops for a second when they see your name in the search bar. Here's the thing, my friends. Distractions work like painkillers. They numb, they don't cure. You can't outrun your feelings forever. You can't party your way out of regret. You can't scroll your way out of missing someone who brought peace into your chaos. There's a quote that hits this perfectly. The truth doesn't go away just because you stop looking at it. That's what starts happening here. The truth they avoided when they walked away. The truth they buried under "I'm fine" and "I don't care." It doesn't evaporate. It waits. And the more they try to drown it in noise, the more powerful it feels when everything quiets down. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Okay, but if they're feeling all this, why do I only see them smiling? Why do I only see them with someone new? Why do I only see highlights while I'm the one sitting here dealing with the dark? Because you chose something they haven't chosen yet. You chose to feel instead of flee. You chose healing over hiding. They chose performance. You chose honesty. The paths are different, but they meet again in one place, reality, and reality always catches up. Their distractions aren't proof of their happiness, they're proof of their discomfort. Think of it like this. When a room is messy, you have two options. You can clean it, which takes effort, or you can shove everything into the closet and pray the door doesn't pop open. Distractions are that closet. New people, new posts, endless scrolling, just emotional clutter pushed out of sight. But one wrong move, one quiet night, one memory triggered by a random smell or song, and the whole closet bursts open. That burst doesn't look glamorous. It shows up as irritability, mood swings, sudden sadness, random overthinking. It shows up as, "Why am I thinking about them again?" when they swore they were done. It shows up at 2 a.m. when they pick up the phone, open your chat, and then lock the screen before typing anything because their pride chokes them. This is where the fear kicks in for them. They fear the idea that you had more impact than they admitted. They fear admitting they misjudged you. They fear having to say, "I walked away from the person who actually brought me calm." And they fear one question more than anything. What if I go back and they don't want me anymore? That thought right there. That's where their distractions start to shake. At the beginning, the distractions were to avoid missing you. Later, the distractions become a way to avoid facing what they did. That's a big difference. One is about numbing emotion, the other is about avoiding accountability, and the more the truth presses on them, the less satisfying all those quick hits of fun feel. Suddenly, the nights out feel repetitive. The conversations feel shallow. The new faces don't hit the same. They're surrounded by people, but they feel weirdly alone. That's when your absence stops being just silence and starts being a contrast. You represented depth, grounding, emotional safety. You were the quiet corner of the room where they could finally breathe. Now they have noise. They don't have that. And yes, my friends, there's a little bit of humor in how predictable this is. They'll complain about being overwhelmed while being the ones who keep stacking their schedule with distractions. They'll say, "I just need to keep busy," like they're a productivity coach, when really they just don't want to sit still long enough to feel the full weight of what they lost. But beneath the jokes, the truth is heavy. The more they run, the more tired they get. The more they numb, the more hollow they feel when the numbing fades. And slowly they begin to see what you already started to understand on day one. The only way out of emotional pain is through it. This is where the paths separate in a very clear way. You felt the pain early. It crushed you at first. The silence burned. The days blurred. The bed felt too big. But you started doing something powerful. You began to build real strength, not the fake, loud kind, but the quiet, steady kind. You reflected, you learned, you grew, you questioned your patterns, you started respecting your own heart more. They delayed that process. They tried to push later on the healing button, but later always comes. And when it does, it shows up heavier, because now it's carrying both the original pain and all the guilt and regret that piled up on top. So when distractions stop working, that's not just a random moment. That's the stage where they start losing the inner battle. Their ego gets weaker. Their truth gets louder. The "I don't care" persona starts to crack, and the real person underneath starts whispering, "I miss the peace we had. I miss the way they made me feel grounded. I miss what I told myself I didn't need." You might not see that. You might only see another post, another outing, another group photo. But remember, social media is the trailer. Real life is the full movie. And the movie looks very different when the lights go off and the audience goes home. This is the moment where you must not lose yourself. It's tempting to think, if they're struggling, I hope they see how much I hurt. I hope they come back and fix everything. That's natural. You're human. But your mission isn't to wait on the other side of their distractions like a reward. Your mission is to keep evolving while they figure out what their ego is doing to their life. You rise by continuing what you've already started, choosing real peace over loud pretending, choosing healing over chasing, choosing depth over drama, choosing discipline over desperation. You're not competing with their distractions, you're outgrowing them. So here's your affirmation for this chapter: my peace can't be replaced by their noise. Type it in the comments, my friends. Show yourself. Show me. Show the world around you that you refuse to measure your worth against someone else's distractions. And stay with me, because once the noise fails them and the silence starts telling the truth, we move into the next stage, when your absence becomes the loudest thing in their life. Number 3, when your absence becomes the loudest thing in the room. People don't miss you when you're replaced. They miss you when they realize you were never replaceable. Let that sit with you for a moment, my friends. At first, when they walk away, it looks like they've traded you for something better. New people, new energy, new attention. They convince themselves, "I'll just find someone else. There are plenty of options. I'll be fine." On the surface, it looks like they upgraded. Deep down, they just downgraded to noise. Your absence never shouts at them in the beginning. It whispers. It taps them on the shoulder in quiet moments. But over time, what started as a light tap becomes a heavy hand on their chest. They thought they were escaping something by leaving you. They didn't realize they were leaving behind the one thing that would eventually haunt them, your presence. Hey folks, imagine a house that's always been filled with music. Not loud party music, the kind of soft background track that makes everything feel calmer, warmer, more alive. Then one day the music stops. At first, they enjoy the silence. Finally, I can think. Finally, I can do what I want. They walk around that house feeling free, no expectations, no responsibility, just space. But as days pass, something strange happens. The silence stops feeling like space and starts feeling like emptiness. Every room feels bigger, but not in a good way. The air feels heavy, the walls feel closer, and deep down they realize the music wasn't the problem, it was the thing holding it all together. You were that music. You weren't just someone in their life. You were the steady background energy that made their chaos feel less chaotic. The person who could listen to their confusion without judgment. The one who calmed their storms without demanding a medal for it. You were the safe space they'd never experienced before. And here's the thing about safe spaces. You don't realize how rare they are until you walk out of them. At first, they convince themselves your absence is an upgrade. Less stress, less drama, less responsibility. They might even say it out loud to their friends. I feel lighter. I needed this. The ego loves that line. It sounds strong, it sounds wise, but the ego always forgets to calculate something. What happens when the initial high wears off? What happens after the rush of freedom fades? That's when your absence stops being a simple gap and becomes a mirror. Everywhere they go, there are little reminders. A cafe you used to go to, a show you watched together, a phrase you used to say. At first, they laugh it off. Oh, that reminds me of them. But as time passes, that sentence changes. It slowly turns into, nothing feels like it did with them. They start comparing without even wanting to. The conversations don't feel as deep. The jokes don't hit as hard. The comfort doesn't feel as natural. They're surrounded by bodies, but they're starving for connection. That's when your absence starts to get loud. Not outside, inside. There's a quote that fits perfectly here. You don't lose people. You lose the versions of yourself you could only be with them. When you were in their life, you didn't just bring your presence. You brought out a version of them that they actually liked. More grounded, more seen, less fake. When you left, they didn't just lose you. They lost access to that version of themselves. So they go out, they meet new people, they try to recreate the feeling. But it's like trying to copy a song by humming a few random notes. It doesn't land the same. It doesn't sit in the soul the same way. They find someone who's fun but not comforting, attractive but not safe, available but not understanding. And slowly, quietly, this thought starts creeping in. Maybe the problem wasn't them. Maybe the problem was me. But here's where their fear jumps in. They're afraid to admit that they misjudged you. They're afraid to admit that what you offered wasn't standard, it was rare. They're afraid to admit that they walked away from stability, not suffocation. So they don't run back immediately. They try to fix the feeling without facing the truth. More distractions, more posts, more fake laughter. But your absence keeps echoing. Think of it like this, folks. Your absence is like a scent they can't wash off. They change the room, they open the windows, they spray something new. For a while, it smells different. But underneath, the trace of you is still there. It comes back at random moments, especially when they least expect it. When they're tired, when they're stressed, When life hits them hard and they instinctively wish for the one person who used to make everything feel less heavy, you. And you might be sitting there thinking, if my absence is so loud, where's the apology? Where's the message? Where's the effort? Remember this, the loudness of your absence doesn't always translate into fast action. Pride slows everything down. They could be losing sleep over you and still not text because their ego is terrified of looking weak. They could be replaying memories and still pretending to everyone around them that they're over it. Pain doesn't always look like tears. Sometimes it looks like forced happiness and overcompensation. On your side, it's easy to feel like their silence is an insult, like it means you were easy to forget. But your mind only sees the outside, the posts, the lifestyle, the surface. It doesn't see the late-night overthinking. It doesn't see them picking up the phone and putting it down. It doesn't see them writing a message and deleting it. It doesn't see the way your name can still make their stomach drop if someone mentions you unexpectedly. Meanwhile, you're going through your own shift. When they left, your world felt louder than ever. Thoughts yelling, emotions racing, questions exploding. But over time, as you slowly let yourself heal, something surprising starts to happen. Your mind calms down. Your chest loosens. Your own silence, the one that once felt unbearable, starts to feel like peace. Your absence becomes loud to them. At the same time, your inner quiet starts to become loud to you. They're just now starting to feel the emptiness you felt months ago. You're starting to feel the peace they thought they found on day one. That's the twist. The timelines are reversed. At first, they had what looked like peace, but was really distraction. You had pain, but it was rooted in truth. Now you have real peace built from that truth. They're feeling pain built from the lies they told themselves. Life is balanced like that, my friends. Sooner or later, the accounts have to settle. Your absence is not a punishment. It's a revelation. It reveals to them what you were really worth. It reveals to you what you really deserve. It reveals to the world the difference between noise and value. Anyone can fill space. Not everyone can bring peace. Anyone can be a chapter. Not everyone can be a turning point. This is why you must not rush back into their arms at the first sign of discomfort on their side. Just because your absence is loud to them now doesn't mean they're suddenly capable of giving you the love and respect you always deserved. Sometimes people miss your presence but still aren't ready for your depth. Sometimes they crave your energy but haven't grown enough to honor it. Your job is not to silence their regret. Your job is to protect your rebirth. You're allowed to say, "Yes, I know my absence is felt. How could it not be? I brought real value. I was calm. I brought my heart. But that doesn't mean I owe you access again." That's not cold. That's clarity. So here's your affirmation for this chapter, my friends. My absence has power. Type it in the comments. Show yourself. Show me. Show the world around you that you understand the weight you carry when you leave a space. You're not replaceable wallpaper. You are the foundation. And when a foundation moves, the whole building feels it. Stay with me. Because once your absence gets this loud, there's a next stage coming where they don't just feel it. They start testing the waters to see if they can step back into your life. And that's where your emotional control is going to matter more than ever. Number 4. When their old tactics don't work on you anymore. Nothing scares a manipulative ego more than realizing the buttons it installed in you don't work anymore. Let that hit for a second, my friends. In the beginning, they walked away like they owned the script. Calm, confident, certain that if they ever wanted to, they could just wander back into your life, press a few familiar buttons, and you'd light up exactly the way you used to. They weren't just leaving you, They were leaving with the quiet belief, if I ever miss them, I can always go back. They'll still be there. That wasn't love. That was entitlement. Hey folks, imagine this. Think of your heart like a door with a keypad lock. For the longest time, they had the code. Anytime they wanted validation, attention, comfort, or a quick ego boost, they'd punch in the same pattern, a late-night hey, a half-hearted I miss you, a random like on your story, a compliment just strong enough to hook you, and every time, click, the door opened. They didn't even have to try that hard. The access was automatic. But then something changed. You got tired of being a door that only ever opened when it was convenient for them. You got tired of mistaking crumbs for a meal. You got tired of begging for clarity from someone who was addicted to confusion, and instead of changing the wallpaper, you changed the code, quietly, without announcement, without warning. One day they show up and try the old pattern, the hey stranger, the thought of you today, the casual reaction to your story, the vague, we should catch up sometime. And for the first time, nothing opens. Their ego freezes. Now they're thinking, wait, that usually works. Why aren't they jumping? Why aren't they over-explaining? Why aren't they giving me the emotional reaction I'm used to? They thought you were just sitting there waiting for them to re-enter your life like a main character returning for season 2. They didn't plan for the twist where you started rewriting the script. Here's where the fear kicks in. Not yours, theirs. Their old tactics were built on one assumption, that you'd always respond the same way, that your need for closure, validation, or connection would override your self-respect. They counted on your history, your softness, your loyalty. They didn't factor in your growth. There's a quote that hits perfectly here. When you change the way you respond, you change the power dynamic. That's exactly what's happening in this stage. You're not playing the villain. You're not playing the victim. You're stepping out of the game completely. They send a breadcrumb message, expecting you to interpret it like poetry. You glance at it and think, that's it? They post something clearly aimed at you, expecting you to spiral. You see it, shrug, and go back to your life. They try to flirt their way back in like nothing happened. You respond with calm, neutral energy, or not at all. Your lack of reaction is not cruelty, it's clarity. But let's be real, my friends. This part is not easy for you. It's not like you suddenly stopped caring. The urge to respond is still there. The part of you that remembers the good times still feels the pull. The maybe this time it'll be different voice still whispers. You feel that tug of war inside, your heart saying, just answer, and your higher self saying, we've seen this pattern. We know how it ends. You might even feel guilty for not replying the way you used to. You might ask yourself, am I being cold? Am I being petty? What if they've changed? What if this is my only chance to fix things? That's the old programming talking, the version of you that was trained to prioritize their comfort over your healing. The version that thought giving infinite chances was the same as loving deeply. The version that believed, if I don't respond, I'm the bad one. Here's the lie you must break. Not reacting is not cruelty. It's self-protection. It's emotional intelligence. It's choosing peace over patterns that have already proven they'll break you. Ask yourself this. When their name pops up, do you feel safe or do you feel anxious? Do their messages bring clarity or confusion? Do they show consistency or convenience? Because their old tactics were never about building something solid with you. They were about maintaining access. Think of it like a favorite app they used to open whenever they were bored. They never did the updates, never paid for the full version, never respected the system, but they still expected it to load instantly whenever they tapped the icon. And now, one day the app says, "This version is no longer available." That error message, that's your boundaries talking. You've outgrown the old game. You've spent time rebuilding yourself, healing, reflecting, leveling up emotionally. You've learned to enjoy your own company. You've learned how peaceful life feels when it's not constantly dependent on someone else's inconsistent attention. And now, when they show up with the same jokes, the same crumbs, the same half-efforts, it doesn't feel charming anymore. It feels cheap. And trust me, they feel the difference. They feel it in your delayed replies, in your shorter answers, in the way you don't overshare like you used to, in the way you don't instantly jump to fix things. They start asking themselves questions they never had to face before. Did I push them too far? Did they finally move on? Am I losing control here? Were they stronger than I realized? Their ego hates those questions, but their soul needs them. And here's the fun part, folks. Sometimes they'll actually double down when their old tactics fail. First attempt, casual. Second attempt, nostalgic. Third attempt, dramatic. They might suddenly hit you with, "I've been thinking a lot," or "I realize I messed up." Sometimes those words are real. Sometimes they're just a stronger version of the same old game. That's why your growth matters so much in this stage, because now you're not judging them by their words. You're watching their patterns. You're measuring their actions. You're listening more to your peace than to your loneliness. You start asking different questions. Does this align with my healing? Does this respect my new boundaries? Do I feel seen, or am I being used for comfort again? You're not cold, you're careful, you're not bitter, you're wise, you're not closed off, you're selective. This is where your power really starts to show, not in blocking everyone and pretending you don't care, but in calmly choosing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. You're not letting them drag you back into that emotional maze where they pull away, you panic, they return, you forgive, and then the whole thing repeats until you're exhausted. You've seen the maze from above now. You understand the layout. You know where it leads. And you're simply refusing to walk those same old corridors. So when their old tactics don't work anymore, understand this. It's not just a sign of their frustration, it's proof of your evolution. The version of you who used to respond to everything has been replaced by a version who responds with intention. You're not on call. You're not emotionally on demand. You're not the emergency exit for someone who walked out the front door willingly. You are allowed to stand where you are now and say, if you want access to me, show up differently. If you want my energy, match my growth. If you want my heart, bring your maturity with you. And if they can't, that's not your loss. That's their limitation. So here's your affirmation for this chapter. I don't react to crumbs. Type it in the comments, my friends. Show yourself. Show me. Show the world around you that you are done responding to half effort, half truth, half love. You are a full human being. You deserve full honesty, full presence, full respect. Stay with me, because once their old tactics fail, they reach a new stage. The moment where your silence doesn't just unsettle them, it starts transforming you into someone even they can't recognize anymore. And that's where your real self-mastery begins. Number 5. When your silence turns into self-mastery. Real power isn't when you can make noise. Real power is when you don't need to. Let that sit in your chest for a second, my friends. Because at the beginning, your silence didn't feel powerful at all. It felt like punishment. It felt like standing in an empty room with every memory echoing off the walls. You weren't thinking, wow, look at my self-control. You were thinking, why does this hurt so much? Why am I the one sitting in the quiet while they look fine? Hey folks, imagine your silence like a pair of new shoes. At first it feels awkward. It rubs against your skin. It doesn't fit yet. You're tempted to kick them off and go back to the old, worn-out pair that hurt you but at least felt familiar. That's how silence feels in the beginning. Uncomfortable, strange, too big for the version of you that was used to always reacting, always explaining, always reaching out first. But the longer you walk in those shoes, the more they start to shape to you. One day you look down and realize you're not limping anymore. You're not walking on pain. You're walking on strength. That's what this stage is about. At first, your silence was about them, let's be honest. You were quiet partly to protect yourself, but also partly to be seen. You hoped they'd notice the missing notifications. You hoped they'd feel the gap where your presence used to be. You hoped the silence would sting enough to pull them back. But something shifted. Slowly, your quiet stopped being a tactic and started being a choice. It wasn't about waiting for their reaction anymore. It was about finally hearing your own voice clearly for the first time in a long time. You started to notice small changes. You weren't checking your phone every 5 minutes. You weren't crafting long messages in your notes app that you'd never send. You weren't rehearsing imaginary conversations in the shower. Instead, you were doing normal things. Eating, sleeping better, going for walks, laughing at small stuff, having deep talks with people who actually show up. You might not even have realized it, but your silence was slowly training your nervous system to calm down. At one point, any time their name appeared on your screen, your whole body reacted. Heart racing, mind spinning, stomach flipping. That's not love, that's emotional overstimulation. That's what happens when your piece is hooked to someone else's inconsistency. But every day you stayed quiet, every time you didn't react to an old pattern, your brain and body learned a new message. I am safe without their response. I am okay without their attention. I survive even when they're not here. That, my friends, is self-mastery in its rawest form. There's a quote that hits perfectly here. He who angers you controls you. We could flip it for your situation. The one who can make you react owns your peace. Well, not anymore. Your silence is you taking the ownership back. Little by little you're reclaiming space in your own mind that used to belong to worrying about them. You used to wake up and immediately check if they'd texted. Now you wake up and think, what do I need today? You used to fall asleep replaying arguments. Now you fall asleep after journaling, reading, or listening to something that actually feeds your soul. You used to feel like every message from them was a lifeline. Now you realize the real lifeline was you finally putting your emotional energy back into yourself. Don't get it twisted. This isn't easy. Self-mastery never is. There are still moments where the old you wants to come back. The old you who would send that long paragraph trying to make them understand. The old you who would accept bare minimum just to keep them close. The old you who would rather feel chaos with them than peace without them. That voice doesn't just disappear overnight. Some nights it still whispers, just message them, just check, just one more time. That's fear speaking. Fear of letting go of a story you wanted to end differently. Fear of facing the possibility that this is really over. Fear that if you don't reach out, you'll lose them forever. But here's the truth you're learning now. You can't lose what was never truly showing up for you. You're not losing a soulmate. You're losing a cycle. And yes, cycles are hard to quit. They're addictive. They're familiar. But silence is the rehab you didn't know you needed. Think of your silence as a gym for your emotions, folks. Every time you resist the urge to react, you're doing another rep. Every time you choose not to stalk their social media, that's another set. Every time you stop yourself from rewriting the same old message, you just lifted a heavier weight. Over time, that discipline becomes strength. That strength becomes confidence. And that confidence becomes a kind of quiet glow that people can feel when you walk into a room. And they will feel it. The same person who used to watch you spin in circles will eventually look at you and think, why are they so calm now? Why do they look different? Why doesn't my presence or absence shake them anymore? What they're feeling is the loss of control. What they're seeing is your self-mastery beginning to shine through. But here's the beautiful twist. You're not mastering yourself to impress them. You're mastering yourself because you're tired of living at the mercy of someone else's emotional weather. You're learning that you can feel deeply without drowning. You can care without chasing. You can love without abandoning yourself. That's the real essence of Stoicism. Not feeling nothing, but not letting your feelings drive the car off the cliff every time someone else swerves. And yes, you'll still have waves. There will be days you feel strong and days you feel shaky. That's normal. Healing is not a straight line. Some days you'll be like, I'm good, I'm done, I've moved on. Then a song plays, a memory hits, or their name pops up and you think, whoa, why does this still sting? Don't let that discourage you. That sting doesn't mean you haven't grown. It means you're human. Mastery isn't about never feeling. It's about not bowing down to every feeling. You're learning to pause, to breathe, to say, I see this emotion, I honor it, but I don't have to obey it. That's a level of emotional maturity that many people never reach in their entire life. You're doing it now. Your silence is no longer a gap. It's a boundary. It's you saying, I will not abandon myself again just to feel needed by someone who doesn't know how to treat me right. That's not petty. That's sacred. And somewhere deep inside, your future self is already thanking you. The you who doesn't panic when someone pulls away. The you who doesn't crumble when a relationship shifts. The you who can love fully without losing themselves in the process. That version of you is being built in these quiet days, one decision at a time. You might not see all the progress, but it's there. In the way you speak to yourself now. In the way you check in with your own needs. In the way you gravitate toward healthier connections. In the way chaos doesn't feel as attractive anymore. Because once you taste genuine peace, drama starts to feel cheap. And that's the real win. Not if they come back, not if they suddenly wake up and realize what they lost. The real victory is that you woke up. You realized what you were losing every time you chose them over yourself. You realized your silence wasn't rejection, it was protection. You realized that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is nothing. To not reply, to not argue, to not chase, to simply stand still and let the storm pass without stepping back into it. So here's your affirmation for this chapter. My silence is my strength. Type it in the comments, my friends. Show yourself. Show me. Show the world around you that your quiet is no longer a sign of defeat. It's a sign of discipline, growth, and emotional power. And stay with me, because once your silence turns into self-mastery, the next stage is wild. It's when they finally reach out, not just to test you, but because the weight of their own choices becomes too heavy to carry alone. Number 8. Your real victory. Not their return, but your rebirth. Your life's turning point is not when they come back. It's when you finally stop waiting for them. Let that sink in for a second, my friends, because the whole time your mind has been trained to believe the finish line is that message, that call, that I'm sorry I've changed. The ego loves that moment. It imagines that if they just come back, everything will make sense. The pain will be justified, the story will feel complete. But real healing doesn't wait for their footsteps. It begins the second you choose yourself. Hey folks, imagine your life like a house that burned down. At first, you're standing in the ashes, holding on to the memories of what used to be. You replay every room, every moment, every conversation. You think, if they come back and help me rebuild, maybe this place can feel like home again. So you wait, looking at the road, expecting their silhouette to appear. But one day, you realize something important. They're not coming with bricks. They're not coming with tools. Even if they showed up, they'd be empty-handed. And in that moment, instead of staring at the road, you look down at your own hands and see this. You've been holding the blueprint the whole time. That's your rebirth. There's a quote I love. Sometimes the person you're waiting for is actually the person you need to become. Read that again, my friends, because up until now, everything inside you has been wired to think, when they return, I'll feel whole. When they regret, I'll feel justified. When they admit they were wrong, I'll finally be at peace. But peace built on someone else's apology is fragile. Real peace is built on your decision. By the time they finally start losing the fight, by the time the distractions fail, your absence gets loud, their old tactics don't work, your silence has turned into self-mastery. Something powerful has already shifted in you. You're not the same person they left. You've sat in the silence and survived it. You've faced the loneliness and found yourself in it. You've learned that your emotions don't have to run the show. You've seen your own strength up close instead of just imagining it. So now, when they finally circle back with that "hey," or that "I've been thinking about you," or that "I realize what I lost," the old you would have treated it like a miracle. The new you treats it like data. Does this align with my peace? Does this respect my growth? Does this support the healed version of me, or drag me back into the old storm? Your victory is not that they finally see your worth. Your victory is that you no longer need them to see it for you to believe it. Hey folks, imagine your energy like a throne. Before, you left it wide open. Anyone could walk in, sit down, and decide how you feel that day. A message could make you happy. A silence could ruin your week. A story, a like, a reply, or a lack of it could control your entire mood. But now, that throne is no longer empty. You're sitting in it. You're not perfect. You still feel things. You still have memories, human moments, waves of sadness. But you're not standing outside yourself, begging for someone else to come validate your seat. You're there, you're present, you're grounded. That's what rebirth looks like in real life. It's not fireworks and dramatic music. It's the quiet realization that you didn't just get over them, you outgrew the version of you that accepted less than you deserved. Do they regret? Probably. Do they miss you? Almost definitely. Do they feel the loss of your calm, your depth, your presence? Oh, my friends, yes, but that's not your business anymore unless it aligns with your peace. Your life is no longer a stage where their ego gets to rehearse its performances. You're not an unpaid extra in their drama. You are the author of your own chapter now. And here's the fun part. The world around you starts to feel different too. People notice you walk differently, not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty. They notice your eyes are calmer. You're not scanning every corner of your life for danger anymore. They notice your standards in friendships, dating, even in how you treat yourself have risen. You laugh more honestly. You say no more confidently. You say yes more intentionally. That's rebirth. So if they come back now, they're not coming back to the same you. They're coming back to a version of you they never knew how to handle. And whether you let them in or not is no longer an emotional reflex. It's a conscious choice. You can forgive without returning. You can understand their journey without putting your heart back in the line of fire. You can feel compassion for their struggle while still honoring your own healing. That's what Stoic power looks like. Calm, clear, centered. You're not out to humiliate them. You're not out to win. You're not even out to prove a point. Because the biggest point has already been proven. You survived what you thought would destroy you, and you became someone stronger because of it. Your story doesn't end with, "they came back." Your story begins with, "I came back to myself." So here's your affirmation for this final chapter. I choose my rebirth. Type it in the comments, my friends. Show yourself, show me, show the world around you that you are not just waiting for someone to regret losing you. You are actively becoming the person you were always meant to be. And now, if this journey spoke to you, if you felt seen at any point in this video, if you felt your own power rising quietly inside you as you listened, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video with someone who's still stuck in the storm you just walked through. And if you feel moved to support this work and keep messages like this flowing, you can also tap the super thanks button and contribute in whatever way feels right to you. Remember, my friends, they may be losing the fight with their ego, but you are winning the war with yourself.